Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome. And I think I'm going to start out by saying, hey, listen, we're 1 month into the fall semester, and I think all in all, things are going really quite well. We'll have a report today on our COVID situation. We'll have a report on enrollment. We'll also have our student body president give us a quick report, but really the theme today is going to be focusing on accreditation, and that might on its face sound like a snoozer, but accreditation is really critical, important to us, and the fact that Northwest will be going over our self-study and coming to campus virtually later on in October. It's really important that we talk about this, what it is, and what it isn't, what it might, might be expected of us. So we are actually asking Dr. Ron Larson, who is our Northwest liaison, to join us a little bit later. But I really want to give a heartfelt thank you to the campus, the faculty and staff for the success that we've had up to this point. And our students that are taking these precautions very seriously, and I think everybody has captured the vision that unless we are sort of cooperative, unless we are kind of compliant with the safety standards of mask wearing and distancing and sanitation, we really do risk jeopardizing our face-to-face experience. I also want to announce our staff unsung heroes for the month of September, and we'll celebrate them a little bit more later, but we wanted a quick shout out to Lisa Laird, Jim Bob Pipes, Chrissy Ray, and Michael Llewellyn. Congratulations for being the unsung heroes for September. And again, it's people like you that really make Snow College what it is, and so a heartfelt thank you to what you do. Why don't we go ahead and start out really with Terry Clausen, our Associate Vice President for Enrollment Management. And Terry, why don't you update us on enrollment, please?
You know what? This is like my favorite thing to do right now. So we're ending our cycle. Becky Hermanson just sent off our third week report, and I haven't heard as of yet that we can give official numbers. So these are all, I'm just talking percentages right now. So our overall headcount this year is up 8%. So kudos to everyone who has done such an amazing job at working through that, because that is record-breaking enrollment, as I love to say. So really excited there. If we're looking at our budget-related headcount, we're up 4%. So we do have that concurrent enrollment piece that helps with our overall headcount, but our budget-related is up 4%. And what I'm really happy to say is that for the first time in a really long time, we have had an increase in our freshman class of 3%, which is a huge jump from year to year. I don't know that that's pretty amazing. The only area in which we were down was our continuing students, which we're going to attribute to the pandemic. But as I've told my team, imagine where we'd be if we hadn't had this pandemic. We had a lot of students that got a little gun shy towards the beginning of the semester and ended up leaving or dropping. But had we not had that, we would be so much further ahead. So kudos to everyone who has helped get to our goal. This is a really exciting time, and I hope that we can soon shout it from the rooftops to everyone with actual numbers.
That's terrific. Again, it's really, your staff and all the frontline staff have really been terrific. Our admissions, registrar, financial aid, advising, It's really a great success story. So congratulations to you, Terry, and your team. Hey, Matt, let's go to you now. Our student body president had a really good meeting this morning with you and your vice president, and thank you for updating me on some of the important initiatives that the students are undertaking. Why don't you give us a quick report from the student perspective?
So the report from the student perspective, three things that we want to be talking about. Number one would be what we're doing for our diversity inclusion. Number two would be Sexual Awareness Week coming up. And third is going to be the Campus Cup, which we're very happy to announce. With diversity, we've tried to close the gap between international students and as well as national students. What Student Life has been doing is we've been trying to get more involved in their activities so that way they can see our faces and that way we can see them. Other things that we've done is invite them to our activities to help out so that way there can be more interaction with these kind of students versus, trying to find them through their own efforts. With Sexual Awareness Week, we have been dorm storming different dorms around campus to make sure people are more aware of the Title IX training that's going on, and as well as explaining to each apartment how to do it, explaining, and etc. Then the last thing that we're announcing that we as a student body are trying to accomplish is win the Campus Cup. Now, those who are unfamiliar with the Campus Cup, it is a friendly competition sponsored by the Lieutenant Governor's Office to involve students around the whole state of Utah for voter registration this election. Now, how it's judged is you get students registered to vote, service opportunities, campus partnerships, as well as an expedition vote. Now, we just had our first event on the 22nd of this month, which was National Voter Registration Day. And between us and every single university and college in the state of Utah, Snow College is now number 2 in this competition. So we have an amazing opportunity to win this. And number 1, just for example, is Weber State, and we're second just behind a couple hundred people. So we're very excited at the progress that we're making, and we're really excited to win this Campus Cup as well.
Snow College, being able to sort of compete with, these bigger places in so many ways, and our students are kind of leading out on that. So we have lots of confidence in you, Matt, and your team. Thank you for your good leadership. As we are waiting for our guests to join us, I actually would maybe want to shift the conversation a little bit to COVID and have Rob Nielsen give us an update on that. And let me remind you that this really is an opportunity for you to ask questions. So remember that in the chat feature of this program, please send us your questions. We actually have Carson Howell, Terry Clausen, Rob Nielsen, Melanie Jenkins, Becky Hermanson, Josh Hales on the panel today. So any questions that are on your mind that we can address, feel free. So with that, Rob, do you want to give us a sense of where we are in COVID?
Okay, we've had a good month so far with all the projections we've wanted to make, and we've looked at a lot of things. We currently have 1 active new case today with a rolling 10-day average of about 8 on Ephraim campus and 1 on the Richfield campus. And so we're doing really well as far as our projections and what we're looking to do. When we're monitoring about 45 students right now with symptoms. So what we're learning is we're getting more and more students that are contacting the care team and letting them know, which is really good. We want to know if you have symptoms. We want to monitor and make sure that we're getting the care that you need or the students need. If they have symptoms for a couple of days, and we refer you to get tested, and then we're monitoring all those with the test results. But so far our campus is doing really well. We're concerned a little bit because the state of Utah the last few days has been averaging probably over 1,000 cases per day, so they're seeing a bit of a spike. So we need to be a little bit extra vigilant in what we're doing to make sure that we stay open. The University of Utah has went on a 2-week circuit breaker, so they'll be online for 2 weeks to see if they can get their cases to go down. We hope we don't have to do that as we continue to mask up and do all the things we've been doing. Our cases are really low. Our county's doing well. We've had a few more cases in the county, but our hospitalizations are at 9, and that's very manageable. We haven't had any hospitalizations campus-wide for our students, so things are going really well. We're concerned, though, that as we go home for weekends, that we do all of the things that some of the people in other areas might not be doing so that we can stay open and not have a circuit breaker need come up.
Thanks really to our care teams, really to our housing folks, our student services, all the way around have been terrific about this, and so far so good. Again, continue to be vigilant about mask wearing, continue to be vigilant with spacing where possible, and continue to wash your hands and all of that. So listen, really to the kind of the primary purpose of today's town hall is really a reminder and maybe a review of accreditation. Snow College will essentially have an on-site or virtual on-site visit from Northwest Colleges, Commission on Colleges and Universities, which is our regional accreditation entity, on October 12th to the 14th. And just so you know, really this is one of the great features of U.S. education has been this peer review of accreditation. And Northwest has been a terrific partner in working with institutions to make sure, right, that we're offering the kind of quality and to have essentially the systems in place for effectiveness. And so I personally am very grateful for what regional accreditation can do to keep, I think, our eye on the right things. And we really are privileged today to have Dr. Ron Larson with us, who's joining us. And Dr. Larson, it's really nice to meet you. I'm Brad Cook. I'm the president of Snow College, and you've got a panel of administrators that are also online. But really today is a general conversation with our campus about kind of the introduction to yourself. We'd love to know more about you personally. And then really kind of your sense of what the overall accreditation is intended to do, what is the purpose, and then what is the process. And then we have Becky Hermanson, Melanie Jenkins, who are in our academic affairs division that can kind of drill down on what it's going to mean specifically to us on October 12th through the 14th. But Dr. Larson, it's great to have you with us today. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, thank you. It's nice to be here. I'm Ron Larson. I work for the Northwest Commission on Colleges and Universities. We're the regional accreditor. That they don't use that term anymore, but that's historically what we've been for the region from Las Vegas to Fairbanks, and so all the schools in between. About 160 schools. There are 4 vice presidents like myself. We each have a portfolio of about 40 to 50 institutions, and we work with our institutions closely, trying to maintain whatever processes we need to have to keep the accreditation current. The purpose of accreditation kind of varies depending on who you talk to. It can be as defunctory as we are the gateway to Title IV funding for federal financial aid for institutions. Hopefully we can do a little bit better than that and talk about we are have something to do with quality control and quality improvement in higher education. That's kind of what we'd like to see. Northwest Commission is kind of leading the way in the U.S. As far as trying to use accreditation processes to see if we can improve student success. So we have new standards that came in place in 2020. With those new standards, we're asking institutions to disaggregate their student success data, start looking for those achievement gaps, and start telling us what you're planning to do to try to close those gaps. And so we're now working with our institutions to see if we can close student achievement gaps. The process that we use for accreditation is basically a 7-year cycle, and starts with some planning and ends with an accreditation visit in year 7. I'm in the middle of one right now. That's why I was running a little late today. One of your colleague institutions, and we are on site looking to see how the institution is doing for assessment of student outcomes, what they're doing for planning, and you know, are they meeting all the requirements of the standards? So that's what we're doing right now, and that's what we'll be investigating on your campus shortly.
Terrific. Well, listen, you know, as a foundational document for the commission to review is our self-study, institutional self-study, and essentially what Northwest wants to come in and do is that, you know, what is your mission? How are you fulfilling that mission? And this is an independent set of eyes to look at and see whether you're actually doing we're actually doing what we're saying that we're doing. And I really want to give a lot of credit to Becky Hermanson and Melanie Jenkins and others that were responsible for this self-study. And so I'd love to have sort of Melanie come in and Becky to talk a little bit about the self-study. And then really between Ron and the other and you two, talk about what is the campus, what should the campus expect on on October 12th to the 14th, given that COVID prevents really a regular on-campus visit. Many of you probably were around 7 years ago when evaluators came and spent days on campus and had meetings with all kinds of stakeholders. That will continue to happen but all virtually. But so Becky, why don't you talk to us a little bit about the self-study as the foundational document and really the kind of the benchmark or the foundational base in which the evaluation will be done.
I'd love to. So I'm first going to check to see that you can hear me okay?
I can hear you fine.
Okay, perfect. So we have completed a comprehensive self-study that addresses not only the eligibility requirements for candidacy, but also 2 specific standards. Standards 1, which looks at our institutional effectiveness, as well as our student learning outcomes and our student achievement outcomes. And then standard 2, as Dr. Larson has pointed out, is sort of the infrastructure or our capacity to be able to not only support those outcomes, but also sustain us as we continue to improve and move forward. That self-study is available to everyone. We submitted it to a team of 5 evaluators. I think it was around the last week of August. It looks like this, and it's rather thick, but you can find it at this website, if everybody can see that, up. And
yeah,
we'll send that website out to everybody, but anyone and everyone is welcome to view that document and look through it. A lot of what we've done in the document is we've been able to respond to the specific standards. And in our response, we'll say, yes, we are fulfilling that, but part of it is also saying, and for example, this is what we're doing at this campus, this is what we're doing at the Richfield campus. So we were quite prescriptive in writing that self-study to give hardcore examples of not only where the institution was, but where it is now and our plans for going toward the future. Part of that is, I think many of you will remember the previous standards were under a mission and core themes. And we're sort of in a transition period, as Dr. Larson indicated, and that Northwest changed its standards in 2020. So we're trying to address both the old standards from which we've functioned over the last 7 years and embrace the new standards as we're moving forward. So one of the things is you will see a section in the self-study that looks at our mission and our core themes, as well as the metrics that we have been using to measure those core themes and where we feel we are in terms of making progress, whether we're on target, whether we're looking for areas of improvement in certain respects. So that's what the self-study does. And again, it's all in the hands of the evaluators. They are studying it. They have set up meetings. I've reached out to some of you starting yesterday in terms of the meetings. They will be delving into the self-study in a little bit more detail and be following up with you based on the self-study with additional detail and additional insight as to how well we're doing.
Good. Hey, Dr. Larson, let me bring you back in if I can, and that is really to, since COVID, how have these visits gone, and is there kind of really a format that we can expect? I'm sure Becky knows about this in terms of, I'm sure we've already got our evaluators planned, we have meetings planned, but how's it gone so far, you think, Dr. Larson, with this kind of virtual system of evaluation?
To be honest, it's gone better than anyone expected. What we're finding is there are pros and cons. We actually find that we get better response out of the faculty, staff, and student forums with the virtual visits than we do with on-site visits. What we're able to do with the virtual visits is invite a couple of individuals to respond to questions and ask everyone else to use the chat function. And we can collect a lot more information from faculty, staff, and students than we could in an on-site visit. What is lost is the ability to actually walk on the grounds and see the facilities and meet people in the hallways, and we do feel that. And so it's not perfect, but there are some parts of it that are working quite well. The opportunity to meet with lots of people and talk about what's going on and helping the evaluators to understand your self-study, that part works very well with the virtual visits.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that's, I mean, there are a lot of upsides, but again, I think the biggest downside for these evaluators, well, they won't have a chance to be on our campus, which we're also very proud of its natural beauty. Our staff do such a good job in keeping the campus kind of updated and clean, and it's just really beautiful. So that is a bummer for the evaluators, but we certainly understand that we've got to do these things differently with the pandemic like it is. But Becky and Melanie, do you want to talk a little bit about what we know about how we're dividing up meetings, and to the extent faculty and staff and students will be involved in this process?
I got the finger point from Melanie.
Oh.
So what will happen is there will be particularly 4 meetings that I'm going to highlight right now. The town hall on October 13th will be a general forum. It's actually, we are intending for our evaluators to run that town hall for us. It is purposely put at 12:30, so it becomes an all faculty forum for which faculty can participate. We are also scheduling an all staff forum as well as an all student forum. On October 14th, the final meeting with the evaluators will be an exit meeting, and that's open to anybody who wants to be able to log in. I don't have the Zoom links right now. As I mentioned before, yesterday I received a schedule of we would like to meet with these folks, and I've been reaching out to those individuals via email, and as soon as we get that solidified, Northwest will provide the Zoom links and we'll be able to send those out. And a copy of those will also be on the website, again, that we will send out. But I am encouraging anybody who wants to attend those forums, the faculty forum, the student forum, the staff forum, as well as that exit meeting, to log in and participate so that they can understand what's going on, as well as if you have been invited to a particular meeting, to please take the time to attend that meeting, because it's the boots on the ground that can really provide the great insight of where we've been since 2012 and the progress that we've made since that point in time. Again, that'll be rolling out within the next few days. I'm hoping to have that solidified by Friday.
You know, going through the self-study, it really is pretty amazing. The progress the institution has made since 2012 on so many levels. And what would you say though, Becky and Melanie, and Dr. Larson, in your opinion, what is the desired outcome of this visit? How would you summarize what we really want to accomplish out of this?
Fundamentally, we want to be in compliance, which is sort of a no-brainer. Go ahead, Melanie.
I was just going to say that the ideal scenario for us would obviously be that the commission validates what we do well, and we know what we do well, but they support us in our mission or our measures to improve. It's nice to have an outside perspective to come in and look and say, you know what, you are headed in the right direction and you should continue in that way. But if they can see some blind spots maybe, or some holes that we've missed, and help us improve our process and our direction forward, then that will be invaluable to us as well.
Yeah, I think it's really important to sort of emphasize that point. This is really about continual improvement. There's not an institution in existence that is perfect. And so this helps validate those high impact practices that we're doing, and sort of celebrates those things that we've made progress on. But you know, there are things we have to acknowledge that we need to continue to sort of improve. So Dr. Larson, how would you answer that question? What do you think is the ultimate outcome, the desired outcome of this accreditation process generally?
I was listening into your answers first to see if I agreed, and I do. Everyone would love to have a clean visit where the evaluators leave saying we can't find any problems, everything's perfect, see you in 7 years. That actually happens very rarely, and probably it's better for the continuous improvement aspect of accreditation to actually find some areas where you can do better. And so we'll bring in some people with some skills who will look at your processes and your data, and hopefully give you some ideas on what you might do differently. And so the odds are that you will get a recommendation or two on a couple of areas that we think you might be able to do better. But our job is to point out the areas where you can improve, and not tell you how to do it.
Terrific. So is there anything that sort of generally, Becky and Melanie, that we ought to sort of prepare for? Are we expecting everybody to read that self-study? No, we'd love you to, if you can. It's quite a lift. But I think that one thing that I think we all need to kind of keep in mind really are some of the bigger issues. Our mission, are we very clear? Is everybody very clear on what Snow College's mission is? So how would you answer that question, Becky, Melanie, on what are those things that people can prepare for, as we prepare for this visit on the 12th through the 14th?
I think one of the things, and I would almost presume to say that we are quite prepared, is that we've made a concentrated effort to look at our student outcomes. And so in terms of faculty and the instructional side of what Snow College does, I'm sure that you'll probably get some questions about assessment day. You'll get some questions about program learning outcomes, how they're tied to the curriculum, how they're mapped together. You'll probably get questions about how well you are assessing those outcomes and how much that information is feeding the cycle of improvement or closing the loop so that you're always moving forward. And again, going back to what Dr. Larson alluded to, there probably will be some questions as far as how are you looking at that disaggregated data and attending to some of those equity achievement gaps in our students, which was, if I can remind the faculty, part of what happened in assessment day this last year with the data that we provided you and in asking you to look at some of those achievement gap groups within your program. That will be very, very important. For other people, we'll also be looking at our overall student achievement, which speaks to our strategic enrollment management plan, as well as our strategic plan in terms of graduation rates, retention rates, persistence rates. And that would also, that sort of, for the staff that would be involved in that, that's really what we're looking at there, is what improvements are we making that improve those processes, not necessarily within the classroom, but support what's going on in the classroom for our students so that they can be as successful as they possibly can. The kickoff of our inclusion initiative at the beginning of this year is really a good example of how we're trying to support those equity gaps, not just in the classroom, but outside of the classroom, with that co-curricular side of what happens at the higher education environment. So those are some things that can be expected. I think the other thing, and this is just harkening back to my experience in evaluating other institutions, is looking at sustainability. And part of that is saying, okay, well, this is where you are now, and based on our conversation and based on our visit, this is where we see you are, and this is where you say you want to be. What are the resources that are in place, or how sustainable is this type of model? The other challenge that's been for some of the institutions is how well is that aligned with the other plans that you're putting in place. And one of the nice things is just having finished our new strategic plan and being able to move forward with that being aligned also with our master plan and other types of stuff, because that ties it all together. It brings that infrastructure of the college, the resources we have, which include the library, our grounds, our facilities, into under one umbrella in terms of promoting student achievement, both in terms of the programs, but also, as I mentioned again, on that co-curricular side of the house, so that we have a sustainable model that takes us to where we want to be over the next 10 years. Anything you want to add, Melanie?
Sure, I would just say that if you boil it down to its essential essence, really, every single person at the institution is engaged in the process of student success. And I would think that any accreditor would want to have a conversation with anyone on this campus about, number one, what is your role in student success? How do you manage? How do you assess? How do you improve that role so that your students are ever more successful? And I think if you can answer that question, if you can engage in that kind of a conversation, you'll be prepared for what the accreditors bring.
Dr. Larson, any final sort of pieces of advice to the campus from your perspective?
Well, a couple of things. One is we are looking to see if you are assessing everything you do related to your institution and student success, deciding what's working and what's not, and using that assessment result to change what you're doing. So is there feedback from what you learn into the decision-making process for how you're going to move forward? And then the other piece that I like to remind people is, I remind all of my evaluators of this, they are peer evaluators, they're your colleagues. And so the goal is to go into your institution, see what you're doing, try to enjoy yourself, and try to learn from the peers how you can solve your problems, then they're learning from you how they can solve their problems. This is a very collegial event, and so please work together, but enjoy the process.
I think that's a great note to end on. Dr. Larson, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate your commitment to higher education and your work on the commission, and we look forward to hosting the evaluators here on October 12th through the 14th. So thank you very much. Really appreciate you taking time with us.
Right, thank you.
What I'd like to do now is just kind of go over some of our panelists to give us a quick update on some of the issues that might be relevant since the last time we met. So let me I'm gonna bring on Dr. Carson Howell. Carson, welcome. It's good to see you. And it looks like you found a razor to shave that beard. I'm still looking for my razor. So anyway, we have that. So anyway, give us an update on what's going on in finance and administration.
Well, thanks, President. Yes, I did find a razor, or I should say my wife found the razor, so thank you. No, there have been some big things that have been happening in finance and administration. I think many students and some faculty were aware of the issue in the business building just this last week. There was a water filter that failed, and there's a basement in that building. Most people don't know there's a basement in that building, but by the time it was caught, there was about 7 feet of water. It was the unauthorized snow swimming pool, and there was a lot of hard work by the facilities team to pump the water out to get things going again. And in fact, it was the water in the building was back on in about half a day. So just a shout out to the facilities team and what they've done. One other thing that I would mention, President, is you know, this month has been pedestrian awareness, pedestrian safety month. There's been a coordinated effort with the student services and also campus safety, and on educating for pedestrian safety. And as far as I know, we haven't had any incidences of pedestrian accidents during this last month. And so just a shout out to the whole community, to students and faculty, staff, everybody involved, those who are running the campaign and those who participated in the campaign on the great effort. It doesn't mean that now you don't need to worry about it, but it's been a while since we've had a good record like that at the beginning of the semester. So I think that's a real positive that we can point to. Most, you know, we talked in town halls previously about the budget. Just wanted to give my thanks to everybody across campus who's participated in those budget reduction efforts. We were inputting the budget into Banner. Things are looking pretty good. We are using some one-time money to cover the rest of that. And with Terry's good announcement that she had this morning about enrollment increasing, we're looking for some real positives ongoing in that budget, so that next year when we come back, it's not so big of an issue, and perhaps you know, in short order we'll wipe out any of that deficit, and then we can really start to invest that money strategically and help the college grow. So things are going well in the finance and administration area.
Well, thanks, Carson, and thanks for your team. I watch every day, watching really dedicated staff and faculty making this institution hum along, and so thank you. Melanie, can we come back to you on any sort of major updates you'd like to provide the campus on academic affairs?
Well, our biggest event right now is accreditation. We've been really involved in that the last few months, really. But we've also got some things going with our inclusion initiative. Fernando has got a book club going. Some of you have joined that and are joining the conversations. We're having a monthly meeting on inclusion strategies. We've invited Professor Reyes back. He'll be back the end of this month to share some strategies for inclusive pedagogy. So we've got some exciting events for faculty to explore their pedagogy, their curriculum, and try and be more inclusive. So.
Terrific. Thank you. Thanks to Fernando, who's really been a terrific leader on these issues. And so thanks for your work, Fernando, as well. Let's go to Josh Hales on human resources and any sort of major issues or updates you want to provide the campus.
Yeah, so far we haven't had hardly any employees impacted by COVID. A big thanks to everybody that's submitted reports whenever you get symptoms and kept track. But So far, the employee numbers as it relates to COVID have been very low. So thanks everyone for wearing the masks and doing all of the things that we need to do to stay safe. We're not quite ready to announce it yet, but you know, we have been very conscious of ways to improve the employee experience for our part-time employees, and so we're hoping to have a couple of announcements related to that ready to go pretty soon. Also, our campus is going to be looking quite different by the time we get through this academic year with all of the early retirements, and a big congratulations to everybody that's taking that program. And then just finally on the marketing front, we've completed the RFP with a company called Red Core Branding that really gave us some very good research and things we can use in our branding. And so we'll be getting with departments in the coming months to really kind of explain what that process was and how the marketing office can support campus better going forward. So we're really excited about that, but not really ready to make big announcements about those things yet. So
Josh has also been kind of also stepping into this year for our legislative relations. And I know we're really early on in the legislative process, but any insights as you kind of have these statewide meetings? Any idea about state revenue at this point? And you know, I'm sure everything is kind of on hold until elections after November 3rd. But what are some of the conversations going on with the legislative liaisons?
Yeah, good question. So. Really, I think the positive news, and we've been actually hearing this for a while now, but you know, when we got into spring, early summer, we're really quite worried about what state revenues were going to look like, and it's actually looking like they're not going to be nearly as bad as what we thought. So that's really encouraging. It seems like every additional appropriations meeting since the doomsday of late spring has been continuously, oh hey, it was better than what we thought last time. So hopefully that trend continues, but so far it's looking pretty positive, at least compared to what we thought it would be.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, listen, let's shift over to Rob Nielsen. I mean, Rob, we ready to start a swim team? Now apparently we have a second pool in the business building.
It's a part of your campus plan where you can use either of the pools. So we'll update your charges. But no, athletics and facilities here are going really well. We're been very busy in the activity center upstairs. A lot of people coming to work out, so it's been really good for us to have a start to that this summer or this fall term. Athletics is our teams are practicing and having scrimmages. We have decided to take a few weeks off and not travel up through Salt Lake County and Provo County, where they do have a lot of COVID outbreaks. Along with USU Eastern and Salt Lake Community College, we're restricting some of the travel for some of the teams just for a week or two to make sure that we can keep things here as much as we can. We're having an event this weekend for our softball coach, Chad Larson, who's been in the hospital. So we're going to have a softball tournament. So people are welcome to come out and support Chad and the softball team in that event. And then we're looking forward to October 10th hosting Air Force Prep in a football scrimmage here on campus. So things are moving along. As you follow the news, everybody else is starting in October, November for a lot of their programs. We will still be starting in the spring for all athletic official games, and with basketball and volleyball the first few months. Football and soccer and softball will be in June or May and June, a little bit in March. So things haven't changed very much. We're just practicing. Teams are busy. We haven't had very many problems. Other campuses had, Salt Lake has had COVID on their volleyball team. USU Eastern has had it on their volleyball team. So our teams are doing really well in following the rules. Our rodeo team has been competing. They just got back from Utah State this week. They've had a great thing going. We've got several of our rodeo athletes that are ranked in the nation and in the Western United States. So things are going well over in this area, and hope to continue to be able to host events for our students here on the field and different things that we're working to host more events. We had a great Western swing activity put on by Student Life. A couple of hundred kids came out for Western swing here on the football field. We're looking to do that again. So I want to have activities for the students and use our facilities as much as we can to share with that. One other thing, we've hired a intramural director, and so we will be getting information out to the students so we can start intramurals next couple of weeks. There's been a lot of interest, and with Carol Green retiring, intramurals has been a little bit late in getting started, but we will be starting intramurals for the students again in the next few weeks. So that will be good and give them something else to do to be active here on campus.
Did you say anything about esports? Maybe I missed that, but tell us, because that shouldn't be affected, or is that affected as well?
No, we're still, esports is still going strong. We're doing really well. They just have to be careful in the room, but as far as competing, people across the country are competing. There's a lot of teams in Utah that are looking to start. Salt Lake's looking to start a program. USU Eastern has one. So more of the community colleges are following Snow's lead and developing esports teams. So pretty soon we'll have a conference of esports within the national organization for a championship. So that's one thing that hasn't been affected very much by COVID.
Good. Well, listen, I think the only person, maybe have a last word, Terry. Any final sort of observations or words of wisdom? We're rounding out our time here, but thanks. Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Just as we've ended this cycle, admissions enrollment, we are starting our cycle for next fall. We are also making a push for spring, so you may start seeing some things come out about online programs or online classes. That is going to be something that we push really hard coming up. So if you've been asked to teach online classes, I would encourage you to get with Melanie, because our hope is that we will have students to fill them. That is a way that is kind of, it's happening right now with the economic situation in the state and the nation. So we have we're poised to do really well there. So that's one of the things that we'll be focusing on. We just appreciate all the support that everyone can give us in doing that. Then lastly, we have hired a registrar who will start in November. So that role will soon be filled, much to the excitement of the registrar's office, who they are working diligently, but they are definitely short-staffed at the moment. So that's about it.
Well, that's good. Well, just to remind the campus that there really are two major initiatives moving forward. We'll continue on with our online sort of initiative, but also our technical education initiative. And, with Stacy McKiff being fulfilling that vice president's role, she's really hit the ground running. And we're hoping that we'll have, again, as a part of this next year's cycle, having kind of a fuller suite of technical education, sort of short-term training offerings that will really benefit a certain type of student and working learner. So with that, I just want to remind you that our next time will be October 13th, but it'll be right in terms of our town hall, but that the accreditors will be here. They'll be occupying this time at 12:30, October 13th. So the next regular town hall meeting will be on October 20th. And so let me just say thanks to the panelists today for being a part of this. And we continue to welcome feedback. are we covering the right kinds of issues? Please send us any sort of ideas or improvement ideas for improvement. You're always welcome to do that. So with that, thanks very much for everybody. Have a terrific week, and we look forward to seeing you next time on October 13th and October 20th. Thank you.